Several years ago, I picked up a book that changed my entire view of the paranormal romance genre, My Wicked Vampire. I read the book within 2 days and was hooked. I had to know if there were even more by this author, and sure enough, there were many more. Since then, I can say that I have read every novel as well as every short story collaboration by her. I even built up the courage to contact her several years ago and have remained in contact since. She once allowed me to conduct a short interview via email, and now I have the absolute pleasure of holding our very first video interview. I am so excited to welcome New York Best Time seller Nina Banks.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So, Miss Banks, how are you?
I'm fine now.
Wonderful. I want to thank you so much for doing this. This is probably, well, it actually is the biggest interview I've done so far, and I couldn't be more excited that it's you.
Wow, that makes my day.
Good. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I want to know, I just noticed since it's the first time we're actually getting to talk, you have an accent, but it does not sound like a Texan accent.
I was raised in Jersey, so I'm a Jersey girl.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Wow. And I see in your bio you've traveled a lot. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I lived in Ireland, in Dublin, for 2.5 years. A friend and I, this was my 20s. We went there, and we were young and foolish. We didn't, not much money or anything. Went over on the ocean liner, and we kept ourselves going by, working in fish and chip shops and everything. And we also brought our guitars and we sang in pubs and hotel lounges. So we got some money there. We weren't very good, but at that time, everyone wore shirts, the short skirts. So we did okay. And I lived in California for a year. I lived in Tucson, Arizona for a few years. And of course, I've been in Texas now for 30, years. So I guess this is where I'm staying.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So, okay, recently, not to get off topic, but I read your post that you made on Facebook about your reasoning for the title of your very first full-length novel. I don't want to say anything, but can you explain it to our viewers?
Sure. I was teaching at the time, and I had done a little bit of writing, not published, a lot of rejections, and I was trying to sell to the short contemporary romance market, like Harlequin, etc. And I belong to a critique group, and one of my critique partners, Kimberly Ray, who has published, a great number of paranormal vampire books. She sold a book to, I don't remember what the line was, but it was like a Harlequin line, but just for paranormal. And she sold. And while we were critiquing her book, I liked it. I liked the paranormal element. It was different. It was exciting. So I thought, let me try one of those. And the first, what was I? There it is.
Yes.
The first one I wrote was an original sin, and it was a time travel. And it was unusual because the heroine was coming from the future, and the hero came from the past. And I sent it to Dorchester, and Alicia Condon bought it because she said it was so different, and she liked my voice. And that was the start of it. But where it actually came from, I was on my way to work, teaching job. One morning, I stopped at a stoplight, and on the radio they were playing Meatloaf's "An Original Sin," and I just the lyrics just got to me about this creature or person rushing around. They've committed every sin that they can think of, and so they're looking for an original one that is different. And that's where Ganymede, was born, at that stoplight. And I decided he was going to be a chaos bringer, and creating chaos wherever he went. And they went and bought more books. I I left him in most of my books because he was a fan favorite. And then I added Sparkle Stardust, a book later. And she
Mhm.
was meant to be the ultimate shallow woman. Um, Everything about her was shallow, and she was a cosmic troublemaker. I forgot to mention the Ganymede. I gave these uh, people the name of cosmic troublemakers, and she thought of herself as the cosmic troublemaker in charge of sex and sin. And she lived up to that with her shoes and her clothes and her sexiness, etc. And she was shallow to the bone. And I didn't think that people would like her because she was just so shallow. But she and Ganymede have turned into the favorite characters of all of my books. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
I have Meatloaf to thank for launching my career, because I wonder if I hadn't stopped at that stoplight and heard that song, I probably would never have thought of that character. And, I wonder where I would have gone from there. So thank you, Meatloaf, wherever you are.
Oh, I think we all want to thank him. All of your fans. So that brings us to you mentioned Sparkle Stardust and Ganymede. You hear, I mean, yes, we of course read about him in the original sin and all, but in Castle of Dark Dreams, they really come out in that entire series. You see both of them in like a totally different light than what you've seen before. So about that though, I've noticed that it takes place in Galveston, that the Castle of Dark Dreams and the theme park and all, or the Live Your Fantasy theme park, excuse me, that's all located in Galveston. So is there something in Galveston that actually provoked you to place it there, or is there any particular reason behind it?
I'd love to give you a deep, dark story about that. But the honest thing is that I live near Galveston. So I didn't have to do any research. I knew the area, and I wanted a place that had basically mild winters so that you could have that kind of a theme park year round. And that was basically why I set it in Galveston. Uh, and no wonderful story connected to that.
Well, personally, I mean, that's one of my favorite, not my favorite, I will say, but we'll get to that later. So, what about what inspired the Woo Woo Inn in the Mackenzie Vampire series? Anything in particular?
Well, again, I was raised in Jersey, South Jersey. So I lived fairly close to the Pine Barrens in Jersey. And of course, the most famous creature connected with the Pine Barrens is the Jersey Devil. So I was thinking about, well, this is for Jersey, this is a big, forest area. And I was thinking it has the Jersey Devil. And from there, I went to, what if? Um, and that's basically where it came from. I've gone down to the Pine Barrens, and I rode through there and looked at the kind of places that are there, and the inn would fit there. And there was a cemetery near there, which is always good for the story. But uh, I like the Woo Woo Inn, and I'm thinking that I don't think I'm ready to go back to the Castle of Dark Dreams, but I have thought about going back to the Woo Woo Inn, and I could still, have Ganymede and Sparkle, and
Oh, of course.
take it from there.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, I won't lie, I'd be excited. Tell me what inspired some of your different characters, because you've got a wide variety of characters. You've got the cosmic troublemakers, of course, the vampires, and all the typical supernatural paranormal stuff. But why such a different variety, including dinosaurs? I mean,
Yeah,
what made you decide to take those routes?
because I didn't want to be bored, and to be perfectly honest, I wanted something that was different because at that time everyone was writing vampires, right?
Mhm.
And everyone had shapeshifters. And I thought, well, how do I make myself stand out? And that was sort of like, well, put some things in that people have, like, that haven't been used before. Um, um, well, the dinosaurs, let's take the dinosaurs. First of all, I wanted something that was the ultimate shapeshifter. I didn't want to use dragons because dragons we know popular in fantasy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I wanted to think, well, every child growing up, what do they think of as the ultimate predator? It's the T-Rex and the dinosaurs. And I thought, what if I made those into the shapeshifters? And um, I know that if I look on Amazon, I don't even know there have a couple of people who have done uh, uh, dinosaur stories that are a little bit
Yeah.
different, And I thought, no, I don't want to be, I don't want to be in that category. But the idea was that I wanted something different. I wanted a very scary shapeshifter that hadn't been done before in the romance field. And I was a little leery because I thought, well, people get in one thing. They when you say vampires, they will accept a vampire as a romance
Yeah.
character, and they'll accept a werewolf as a romance character. I didn't know if they would accept the T-Rex as a romance character,
I did.
but I thought, well, maybe I'll also attract a couple of fantasy readers. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Alicia Condon, my editor at the time, she thought it was a great idea, and she went with it. And I thank her for all those years of support she gave me when I came up with these weird and wacky, um, ideas. And so we put it out there. The first book um, did make the USA Today list, but that was about the time that Dorchester was having problems, financial problems, and the second book came out, but that was about it, and they went out of business, and my book went to Avon, Berkeley actually, Berkeley, and and they put it out. They put a cover out that really didn't say romance.
No, not at all. That's the cover mine is. That's what I have.
um, anyway, and after that, I didn't do any more for it. Didn't do that well, to be perfectly honest. Um, but it didn't have. If you'll notice, every one of my covers, except for this one, has a hot guy on the cover,
Yes.
and and Alicia used to say that that sells. Well, let's say
It
it does
does.
sell.
It
And
does.
yeah, so you don't see any women on the covers. And then when I went to Berkeley, since I'd had success with those kind of covers with Dorchester, they continued with the male by himself on the cover, and it's worked for me. Um, so I hope with Eternal Shadows that it will continue working for me.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
oh,
sure it will.
Forever Wicked did have Ganymede and Sparkle on the cover because I couldn't, I think, put just one of them on that cover. So
Oh no, that one, that's a pretty cover. I meant, to be honest, and it perfectly embodies Sparkle.
that was my first self-published book, and
Really?
yeah, yeah, and they did a good job. I drove them crazy because um, I didn't like I wanted the male to be sitting in that like throne sort of thing, and he had to have Ganymede's blonde hair, and they gave me they picked out some models that to me really let's face it, weren't good looking. And they didn't fit what my idea what Ganymede would be like. So I had to go, they let me go and search for myself until I came up with a face um, that I thought, fit Ganymede. And as far as Sparkle, I did find a woman that, to me with her red hair and all looked like Sparkle.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
it was sort of tedious because you go back and do it over and over and over till it was what I wanted.
Well, are
I
you
don't know.
still self-publishing, or are you with a publisher still, a company?
No, this next one will be self-published too. To be perfectly honest, paranormal market for paranormal romance isn't that strong right now, except if you're one of the big names.
Right.
Um, so it would be hard. I don't have an agent. My agent retired. And I I don't want to go through that whole thing. And I don't even know if I could get an agent. Who knows nowadays? So I'm going to self-publish it, and I dread it because I have to go through all the marketing stuff, which I don't understand. And but it'll be self-published.
Well,
I
okay,
do have,
since we're on the topic, I have to ask, we've all been waiting for quite some time, which is totally okay, but is there any ideas to when Eternal Shadows is going to be released?
actually, it is finished, and I'm going over and editing it. And I thought to myself, well, what can I tell everyone? Why the third book in this series came out in 2010, and here we are in 2022, and I'm just putting out this book. And I thought of all these wild stories that I was kidnapped by aliens or something, so that I couldn't write. But I think the whole thing was that I don't know. I don't think it was burnout. It was just everything happening. I lost a friend to cancer. I
Mhm.
lost my
So
cat.
sorry.
I lost my cat. And I don't take loss well. And then the pandemic came along, and I lost my reading groups because, they shut down, and um, uh, some of them did it with Zoom, but it wasn't the same. Um, and the national, you couldn't go to the national conference because of the pandemic. And I think it was just sort of, I don't know, depression or whatever set in that I kept sitting down. I said, I have to finish this book. I have to finish this book, and nothing happened. So this is a
Yeah.
huge book, though. This is too big. Uh, but it is what it is. It just grew and grew and grew. And what can I say? But anyway, I actually did finish it. I have a critique group that are merciless, it's sort of like, we're going to take your Kindle if you don't finish this chapter, sort of thing. But anyway, it is finished. Um, I'm on the last couple of chapters as far as editing. My
Oh,
critique
wow.
partners, bless them, I told them they didn't have to read through the whole thing. Um, and I'm not going to go, with the other books, I went through a professional editor, but my professional editor was the person who passed away. And so they're going to read it and, get anything that I missed. And so I can't see it being that much longer. But I said
Oh,
that
that's
5 years
great.
ago. uh,
Oh, that's great.
I said, I do apologize because I do get mail and everything. And I'm waiting for the person to say, when I say it's coming, to tell me you're lying. They haven't said that. I know they're thinking it. So.
Oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It'll happen. No, I mentioned that Castle of Dark Dreams was not my favorite. Well, I will admit the Gods of the Night series is absolutely fascinating. I
I'm
have
sorry, what you
read
say?
that. Oh, I'm saying
Say
the
that.
Gods of the Night series.
Oh, okay.
It is my absolute favorite. I have read that entire series so far at least 3 times. So
Wow. Well, see, that made my whole night.
I'm very anxious for the next one, especially to find out the way you left it off with Rap's story, or how you led into his story. It's going to
Yeah.
be fascinating.
Well, and I'll have to give away, some things from the previous book, but at this point, anyway, going in this book, Rap has an identity crisis because he's human, and he has a soul of an ancient predator, Utahraptor.
Mm-hmm.
He also now has the body of Adam. And if you read the previous book, so he's now three in one, and it's hard because I don't know. Should I say who Adam is? I mean, would that be
He was
giving
a
too much?
vampire, correct?
Yes. Okay. So when the original Rap's body was destroyed, Finn put his soul into the dead vampire lord's body. So he also is in charge of all the vampires too. So
A lot of
so,
pressure.
yeah, beyond the apocalypse, you know what I mean. The apocalypse coming. Okay, the end of the world. Besides the end of the world coming, he's dealing with the inner. And the heroine, I'm not going to give away because she is different. She's not the usual helpless human female,
Right.
who gets into this. She's going to be very different, and hope people will like her. Um, I've enjoyed this series. After this book is so long, it took so long to write. I don't know. This does take us through 2012, which was supposed to be the next book after the 2010 one. Well, of course, 2012 has come and gone, but this takes us back to 2012, and hopefully that won't bother people, because all I do at the beginning, I just put 2012 in the corner. So the story itself won't interfere with the time. But this is where everything comes together. Um, Everything is tied up at the end, but I left it open so that if a lot of people really like it, I could go back and revisit that, world again. Um, but that's where it is. I honestly never thought, there were periods when I never thought, my friends sort of said, walk away from it. If you can't write it, write something else. And I thought, but I have 200 chapters done. I can't walk away from it. I have to finish the book. So as much as I wanted to, I walk away from it at times. I didn't.
I'm so
Uh,
glad you didn't.
the thing that I have striven for my whole career is I always want something different. I don't want to just have the same old. And that's not saying that anyone that writes the same old is wrong. There's wonderful books out there. It's just that for me personally, um, I have to have something that's different, not better, different.
Right, right, of course.
So I'm
Different's
not
great.
right. I'm not criticizing people who choose to, write things that have been done before. I don't want to talk myself into a flame war with somebody.
Well, just curious, other than the one that you're getting ready to release, do you have plans for any other kind of series or even just solo novels?
um, I'm going to be releasing a novella that was in a book that was brought out by St. Martin's many years ago called The Flame, and it's a novella, and it is different. It doesn't have Ganymede and Sparkle, but when St. Martin's, it was part of a quote very hot anthology, and for whatever reason they released it in uh, paperback, but they never put the ebook up. I don't know why they never did. So therefore, when they didn't have the paperback selling anymore, I was able to get the rights back to it.
Oh,
So
that's
that will
great.
that will be coming out. Um, I actually have 3 chapters of a series that I'd love to write, but I don't know if I should, because it's sort of like do dance with the one that brought you, and this is basically a sentient house, um, and it has doors in it, um, where people, whatever, come in from other worlds, but they have to be let in by what's called the key. And a key is always a woman. And in this case, the woman is a niece of the previous key. But she didn't know anything about this. The sentient house, once it has you, it has you. You can't leave. And of course, then there's the characters that are in the story. Um, I might put up several chapters on my website to see what people think. I love it because, well, first of all, it's very different, I think, anyway, the characters are. And I have the characters that I like that are unusual. I have a cat. Did you ever see the cats with the bisected face? Like one side is like an orange and the other side is black.
Yes.
And two little demons have possessed the cat because they're so weak that they can't possess anything by themselves. So they have to team up and possess this cat, and they can't agree on everything. So there's humor there, and there's a lot of what I think are interesting characters. But I don't know whether I should do that because you're walking away from series that people like. I don't know.
It sounds fascinating, honestly.
Yeah, I might send you 3 chapters, let you see what you think.
Oh, gladly. I would be more
um,
than happy to read them.
I've also thought, as I said, about going back to the Woo Woo Inn because I could have Sparkle and Ganymede there, and possibilities of things that I haven't. I've thought about dragons because I've been reading a lot of fantasy lately, um, and again, there's always there's always the gods of the night, depending on if people like what they read.
Oh, sure, of course.
Hopefully, I wouldn't take 100 years to finish the book. So,
Honestly, I'm pretty positive anybody would wait. I mean, I see your following. You have so many people that adore your writing. I wouldn't be worried if I were you.
oh, I have a great deal of guilt. I haven't been on Facebook lately. I have to get back on Facebook um, and Twitter. And I've looked at Book Talk because, and I'm thinking, well, uh, I personally won't do Book Talk, but it's this short little video. And, I've looked at Book Talk and TikTok, and I'm thinking, I have a street team, or I did have a street team. Or maybe
Oh,
I
I didn't
could,
know you had a street team.
they haven't seen me in many years, but there's some that are still there. And one time I ran a contest years ago for whoever did a video for YouTube for one of my books. Uh, I would, I remember, forget what the prize was. And I got two or three very good videos. So I'm
Oh,
thinking,
wow.
and to me, Book Talk would be easier. They can just do a review or whatever, and I don't have to do the techie stuff. Um, but I'm thinking that, or I could put it on Facebook and bribe people. I don't know, give them to do that. But anyway, the thing that worries the most is that marketing for me is very hard. I'm very right brained, and right brain means I just want to write the book and give it to someone else to work with, and we'll see. How do you feel about how do you feel about doing a TikTok video, Rebecca?
Gladly. Anything you need.
I could cross your palm with all kinds of gifts.
I would gladly help you market.
I'm, I'm just joking. I'm just
Hopefully this video right here will help you a little bit. We'll see.
Of course, I had the single titles too, and I'm sad about them because I should have had them in uh, in a series, but I didn't. The Pleasure Master is the only book that I ever had. I ever wrote the book because of the title. I'm not a good title writer. I always have someone help me come up with a great title, but The Pleasure Master just popped into my head one day, and I went from there. And uh, I'm proud of that. The only good title I ever thought of. Oh, that cover, by the way, um, that was banned in Walmart, and Walmart
Really?
wouldn't carry it for Dorchester until they changed the cover. So I don't have a copy of that. They're in a little box, and only like their head and shoulders show, and then it's really boring cover. But that's the only way they could get it into Walmart because it was too risque. So
I don't see that as risque. I don't think anybody else will see that as
I
risque.
guess back. Let's see. I don't know what did that come out in.
This actually shows 2001.
Okay, back in 2001, that was risque. Now it would not be risque.
Yeah, definitely not. I do have another question. Night games.
Actually, maybe if I take this down, more of me will show.
This is
I feel
another
like-
interesting one. Did you not come up with this title yourself?
Um, I honestly don't remember. I have a critique. No, I have a critique group that comes up with some good ideas. Jerry
Right.
Bartlett is a best friend. She has a series, Real Vampires Have Curves,
Mhm.
and she has 1,000 books out with that. And she is very good at coming up with stuff. And Donna Malloy is my other critique partner. And between them, they help me with these covers. I'll come up with, these titles. I'll come up with a lame title, and they'll fix it. So honestly, don't remember I know that publishers have never changed my title, so whatever title I send in with the book, they've kept, which I'm happy with. But Night Games, I have a deep love for Ireland. I love Ireland. Um, I thought about staying there and living there because it was because I wasn't a citizen and didn't have a work permit. And my friend Barbara didn't either. Um, we had to come back to the States, but I really loved Ireland. And so I remember um, seeing these gypsy wagons in Ireland, you know, that are pulled by the horse and all that. And so it gave me the idea of the um, this mother and daughter and everything going over and renting one of these wagons and everything. But then I thought, you know, I need a hero that will be sexy because sexy sells, sexy and if interesting and different. And so that's where I came with him from a different, you know, a different place and where um, the they couldn't procreate anymore. You wouldn't believe these old books. Sometimes I can't remember exactly the plots and the names of the characters. And someone will ask me about a name, and I'll have to say, "Oh my God, uh, who was that? What did he do? What book was he in?" Um, but anyway, and I thought, you know, how about sex games? That's their big joy because sex is sort of dead with them um, in their world. And so he's the champion of the sex games. And I thought we can't get much sexier than that. And
Definitely not.
that's I don't I it's funny I've changed over the years. Maybe it's getting old. I don't know, but I don't think in terms of sensuality as much as I used to in my books. I usually have two love scenes, and they tell it all. But I go back and read a couple of my early books, and I thought, oh my God, did I really write all that? I mean, you know, I thought Night Games was a great title. I don't whoever came up with it.
Oh, it is. It's a wonderful title. It's
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah,
Well, before
it was.
we end things, I'm going to ask, out of all of your books, all of your characters, the different places that all your different stories take place, is there one in particular that is your personal absolute favorite? That if somebody said, which book should I pick up first, you would instantly tell them that book?
I don't know if I have a favorite. See, you hit me with that one. I wasn't ready for that one. um, I don't know. I do love them all. There's none that I say I hate. I guess that if I have to say anything, maybe Forever Wicked, because that was the story of my favorite. All the characters that I've written, Ganymede and Sparkle, are my favorite. And um, I love that book. Maybe it wasn't the best book of the ones I've, you know, written, but it's the one that brought together my two favorite characters and gave them closure. So, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect.
yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer, but I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and coming to my channel. It is such
You
an
know,
honor.
thank you for having me because if you look through Google and all, I'm not going to, maybe I'm lying, but I don't think you're going to find any interviews because I'm elusive. I don't do interviews. And you should, you know, you should get a bounty because I think you're the only one that's going to have interview me up. So, but I think of you as a friend, and I really appreciate you having me and supporting me. And
Always.
not going to get mushy, but thank you for having me, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
And there you have it, guys. The wonderful, very talented, and extraordinarily, like, just perfect woman, Miss Nina Bangs. Um, Thank you so much again, Nina, for coming to my channel. I hope all of you enjoyed this. And if you haven't read her books, you Absolutely have to. The link to her website will be below. Be sure to look her up. Check out everything she has to offer because I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And again, thank you all for joining us and have a great evening.